Hello, welcome to Find a Practitioner, and today's guest we have Inga, who is a shaman and an author. Welcome to the show. Please tell us a bit more about what you do, please.
Hi, Anthony. It's lovely to be here. Thank you for having me on as a guest. So my name's Inga, and I am a shaman or a shamanic practitioner. I trained during lockdown in 2020, and I realised that basically I'd been a shaman my whole life. I guess you don't really become a shaman, you're born a shaman. But I think quite often with these callings, it takes a long time for us to actually be ready to accept the calling. And certainly when the calling first came for me, it was 2017. And I was all set to begin my shamanic training. And then this voice in my head said, no, you're not doing this right now. So it was 2020 when I began training, and I trained with an amazing shaman called Keith, who didn't train me in a particular shamanic tradition. Most people I know are trained in a particular shamanic tradition, but he is much more, pioneering, I guess, in a way for the modern world. So he trained me in a much broader way than is generally normal, if you like. So I was very, very lucky to experience my training with him. So I trained in shamanism. I then started working with practitioners, with clients, and then gradually I developed my own modalities as I worked, because the one thing I'd been taught by Keith was that it's something that you're constantly expanding. It's something that you're constantly growing. It doesn't just sort of finish with the kind of the basics like the soul retrieval and the negative energy release and the past life work. It's something that grows with you as a practitioner as well. So over the last 6 years, I have been growing my practice, I guess, to evolve more and more and more as I evolve as well as a person, and as I learn more and as I uncover more of my own understanding of myself, then it offers me the possibility to understand others better too. So I bring that very much into my practice.
Awesome. So if someone was to come to you for a sort of a session or a healing session, what can they sort of expect from that session?
Okay, so that's a really good question. So really, the answer to that, Anthony, is I don't know, and that might seem really weird, and it's probably not the best sort of marketing, probably not the best way to market my work. But the reality is that when you work as a shaman, the most important thing is to remove your ego. So essentially, people are not coming to see Inga. They are coming to discover their inner world. And so I don't really know what is going to happen. If I'm wholly honest, I don't know what's going to happen in a session. And I learned that quite early on, because initially I would sort of say to people, oh, come and we'll do a soul retrieval, or come and we'll do a negative energy release, and they'd come, and then the work would be something completely different, and I'd be sort of like, oh, I'm really sorry, I told you to come for a soul retrieval, and it's not that, because really it's actually none of my business. What we do in the session is what I do is I facilitate the opening of the door, the portal, if you like, to the higher self of my client. And essentially it's that decides what needs to be done in that particular session. So I don't actually tell people anymore what's going to happen. But on a more kind of generic level, basically someone comes in, they lie down, ideally. I usually utilize my drum, my rattle, my voice a lot has come forth in the last couple of years. I do a lot of voice work, so a lot of speaking in tongues, a lot of sounding and humming. and then I journey on their behalf and they are sort of passive in the journey, but if possible, because I'm all about, so basically when someone comes to see me on a more practical level, but they lie down, because that's something that's I think is really important, is to lie down, and then I might use my gongs to create a sort of a sound bath to relax them and calm them. And then what I do is I use my drum and my rattle and my voice to instigate a shamanic journey. And the shamanic journey is, sometimes I journey on behalf of the client, and other times, which is preferable if it's possible, I bring the client with me on the journey, because it's much more empowering than me doing the work for the client. But it really depends on the person, and it also depends on what we're doing. And essentially the journey takes place where I will join with my guides, who are fundamental to my work. And then I go with my guides and possibly with the client to wherever we need to go. That could be to bring back, for example, a lost soul part, or sometimes lost soul parts if possible, which essentially, if you talk about this from a point of view of psychology, it's dissociation. It's when a part of us experiences extreme trauma, and the brain's way of protecting us is to release that part of us, essentially. So it almost takes it away and covers it up and separates it, but we don't actually have access to that part of us. So from a shamanic perspective, that's a soul loss. And so one of the most important aspects of my work is usually doing soul retrieval. So go to find the soul part, dialogue with the soul part to make sure the soul part is ready to come back. And then if there's healing to be done, the guides or I will do the healing. Very often that's the guides that do that. And then I bring the soul part back and bring it back to the person. There's also ancestral work, past life work, heavy energy release, cord cutting. There's lots of different things. But also it can also be, for example, timeline work whereby we go back to a moment. So say, for example, somebody comes and they're feeling something, and it might be, I don't know, they don't know if they want to change job or something. It could be something quite banal. And I will say to them, tell me the feeling that you're experiencing. And it might be fear or concern or worry or guilt. And then I'll take them back basically down a staircase to find the first time they ever experienced that feeling. And then we enter into that experience together to find out what happened and what created it. And that can be very powerful work, because within that you can also actually change perspective on something. Because when you go and look at something as an adult that quite probably happened in childhood, you can gain a completely different perspective on something. And sometimes that can be instantaneously extremely powerful for healing childhood trauma as well. So there's a lot, it really depends, Anthony. Sometimes I just do sound baths as well, so which is very much about calming the nervous system and just giving somebody the opportunity to actually just calm and relax, and then the work almost happens on its own for them, in the sense that that's very much an individual journey that someone takes on their own, whilst I'm utilising the music and my voice a lot to kind of create the landscape that they need to be in as well. So
I just want to know what kind of audience, what kind of people will sort of are drawn to the shaman. Is it people when they're starting out their journey, or people who want to take things to a deeper level?
It's really interesting, actually. I have everybody. I mean, there's no sort of there's no kind of, I guess, client avatar that's very specific. I think, I mean, I've had all sorts of people. I've also had, people of all ages as well, and all walks of life. I think sometimes people feel unnerved. Maybe at the beginning of the journey, the idea of a shaman can feel a bit kind of like, whoa, that's a bit scary and a bit weird and a bit out there. And so I guess it's sort of helping people to understand that it isn't actually scary and weird and out there. We all have the ability to connect with our inner world. And actually, it's one of the most fundamental things for us to do as human beings, is to remember, to rediscover this part of us. And shamanic healing is just one of the ways that we can do that. There are so many modalities, and I think the most important thing I feel that I've discovered through my work and my own journey is there isn't a one size fits all. You know, for some people, shamanic work will be extraordinary, and other people it just won't resonate with. And it's really about maybe just experimenting a little bit if you're at the beginning of your journey to feel what feels right for you. And I'm also a great believer in, you know, the pronged approach. So I don't think any of us should ever just rely on one particular modality. I think, you know, nutrition is very important. Meditation is very important. Fresh water is very important. Sunlight and being out in nature and, you know, hugging trees. All of this is really important. You know, physical contact with other people, you know, being in a community, being with our friends. So, you know, I think it's really important, because I know from my own journey, I became really obsessed with healing at one point, you know, and I sort of lost touch with all the other parts that were so important. So it's really important, whatever you choose, to have a holistic sort of lifestyle, I guess. So making sure you're having lots of fun, going out and dancing, seeing friends, enjoying your food, listening to music, having good relationships, reading, talking, meditating, getting out in nature and walking. It's all of it, as well as the maybe more intense work that you do when you come to see a practitioner or a coach or a healer.
That is some wonderful advice there. Thank you for that. That's awesome. I want to discuss the sort of benefits of the shaman as well. I know you sort of discussed some of it already, just to have a sort of cap over about the sort of benefits if people are looking to book with you.
Sure. So again, it's, without sounding really vague, it's very, very personal. To be honest, Anthony, again, to be really truthful to my work, I never know how someone's going to leave a session. I've had people leaving the sessions being absolutely elated and full of, you know, joy, and I've had people leave and sit in their cars for 2 hours crying their eyes out. So, you know, there's no kind of right or wrong with the sessions. The benefits are very different for everyone, and it very much depends on how evolved you are on your journey, how many sessions you do, and also just kind of timing is very important for you yourself too. That some of the benefits can be that you can really release sometimes really old trauma, and that can shift from your mind. It can sometimes shift, you know, people experience sort of tingles and, you know, physical experiences sometimes during the session as well. Quite often people leave feeling very, very calm, and that can last for, you know, sometimes a week afterwards, that sense of calm. But I'd say those are all almost superficial experiences in a sense. The aim of the work really is always to begin the dialogue with one's inner self. The real benefit of any work that you do with a practitioner of, you know, who knows what they're doing, is that you begin to realize that you're not just this. You're not just this body, you know. You are a soul. You are an extraordinary expression of source, whether you see source as God or the universe or however you want to see that. You are an expression of that, and therefore there can never be anything wrong with you. You are not faulty, you're not unlovable, you're not, you know, nothing wrong with you. You are an expression of the divine. And the shamanic work, along with all the other practices that people can do potentially, is to open you up so as you start to remember that this is who you really are, and that you come in to have this amazing experience as a human being, because it really is an amazing experience, and do all the things in the flesh that you couldn't do as a soul. So that is really the journey that, I am taking people on. I'm opening the doors for them to go, whoa, okay, I'm more than just a body. I'm more than just this person that thinks this and believes this and has these ideas about myself, which maybe aren't very nice. Wow, I'm incredible. I'm a soul, and I'm here to have this beautiful experience in life. So that is essentially the idea behind the shamanic work.
That sounds really lovely. Thank you. You also mentioned that you do soul blueprints. Can you talk a bit more about what that is, please?
Yeah, so that's something that for years I have been wanting to do, but the time wasn't right, probably wasn't right for me. But it's something that has come to me really in the last sort of month or so. And what it is through my own journey, I've realized the potential of understanding our soul on a more cognitive level. So the shamanic work does it on a very spiritual, energetic level. But actually, we live in a society where we use our brains. We've been taught to see things on a cognitive level. And so I think one of the very powerful techniques is to be able to see our soul blueprint from that perspective, almost academically, if you like. So I put together now reports based on someone's numerology, their sun sign in astrology, for example, Capricorn or Aries or whatever, their Thoth tarot deacon, which is to do with the tarot cards, which is particular to the Thoth deck, the Chinese zodiac, which interestingly tomorrow we're actually stepping into the fire horse, the year of the fire horse, the gene keys, and human design. I think that's everything. And numerology, that's right. So once I have someone's data, I bring all of these amazing tools together. And what I do is I use AI for this. So this together, I bring all of this together and then create a report. And what I have found is that it was so true for me. So my numerology was so true, my gene keys were so true, my Chinese astrology, all of it was so true for me, but it was all sort of separate. And once I actually brought it together and created this as a whole report, it gave me an insight into who I am in this lifetime, this soul's embodiment as Inga, that was just so amazing, Anthony, that I felt so excited about being able to give this to people, because it's also, you mentioned about people starting out on their journey, it's also a really beautiful way to begin. So if you've done nothing else and you're not really sure about what to do, it's a beautiful initiation, because it's not difficult, it's not hard, you don't have to go into your childhood memories or any of these things that people worry they might have to do. It's just really there to show you who you really are here to be. And equally, if you're further down the path, it's kind of like a map, if you like, because we're all going down the path, but sometimes we can drift off to, oh, am I going this way or that way? And it sort of gives you that sense of, wow, okay, this is what I'm here to do. This is my path. This is who I am. These are my strengths. These are the places I need to work on. This is where my energy might leak. So this is where I need to be careful, my boundaries, and it's just a really, really beautiful way of allowing people to get insight into this inner world without actually having to do any particular work initially. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you. Also, I just want to talk about your personal journey and how the shaman has sort of being a shaman has transformed your life.
Yeah, I mean, it really, really has transformed my life. I guess the first time I ever realised that, well, looking back on it, I didn't realise it at the time, but looking back on it, the first time I suppose I ever realised that this was in me was when I was about 8 years old, and my uncle Davy came to stay at our home, and he had received electric shock treatment because he'd had a nervous breakdown, and he was no longer a human. He was completely and utterly devoid of capacity to do anything. And I remember that really deeply affected me as a child, as an 8-year-old, on very many levels. And looking back on it, I feel like that was probably the very first thing that kind of I realised that there was this sense of me being maybe very, very empathetic and very aware of things. I've also, I was born on the Orkney Islands in Scotland, and I actually lived. They discovered about 15 years ago the Ness of Brodgar, which is now considered to be probably the oldest and perhaps most important ritualistic site over and above Stonehenge. And there are the rings, the Ring of Brodgar and the Standing Stones of Stennis. And I basically grew up next to them, and my house was on top of this ancient Neolithic ritual ground. So when I trained in shamanism, these things started to come out. I started to realize these things. I started to discover that there was there were no coincidences in my life. Everything that I'd experienced, and my childhood was traumatic. Everything I'd experienced wasn't terrible. It wasn't bad. It wasn't awful. They were gifts. Each and every one of these things were gifts. And my job as a human is to alchemize those experiences and bring gold, essentially. And through doing that, then be able to do that for others. My life has completely changed, Anthony, because I've gone from feeling like a victim to life and to experiences to being immensely grateful for everything that has happened to me and everything that continues to happen to me, because life doesn't just suddenly get amazing because you become a shaman and you're like, oh yeah, life happens, But it has given me tools and understanding, and also, part of my blueprint is to teach, to help, is to aid, is to give back what I have managed to transform and understand and alchemize myself. So it has allowed me to live my truest soul purpose, if that makes sense, as well.
Wow, that's good. Success stories or testimonials?
Yes, I do. I mean, I used to have testimonials on the website. I don't have them to hand, but yeah, to be honest, I won't talk about clients because it's not ethical. Yes, again, it's really personal, and so sometimes people leave and they come back to me and they really have had life-changing experiences. And other times people leave and I never hear from them again, or maybe it hasn't had this life-changing experience. And the thing that I learned quite early on is that it's really important for me not to be attached to the outcome, because that's my ego. That's my ego saying, oh, did I do something wrong? Because, the person didn't ring me and tell me how incredibly amazing they feel at the end of this. Because also these things happen, how can I put this? The work happens in its own time and in its own way. So it's not necessarily something that can be registered on a graph, if you like. Equally, sometimes I've had people have, supposedly life-changing experiences, amazing, feeling incredible. And then their lives go pretty much back to where they were before because there isn't the sustained, they didn't sustain it. And other times I've had people much further on down saying to me, my goodness, I did have a life-changing experience, but it wasn't initially there in the beginning. But it really really is personal. Now, I cannot guarantee anything to anyone or guarantee any results, because it's all about your soul's journey and what is right for you at this moment. And So I guess what I feel is the most important thing that I offer is help understanding that, rather than offering a solution or a promise, which I don't offer. I want to help people to understand that actually it doesn't matter. What matters is that we are here in this moment having this experience, and that we can actually live this moment and live this experience and not be so attached to outcomes and things that, you know, and this is good and this is bad and this is right and this is wrong. I feel that that's the gift that I can bring to people, more so than saying, you know, this will happen or this won't happen or this might happen. Does that make sense?
Okay, thank you. You said you was an author as well. Can you please tell us a bit more about the books that you've got?
Yeah, so the first book I wrote was The Art of Dying, and this book I wrote when my father was, I believed, dying, and it was. I don't even, to be perfectly honest, I don't even really know how it came about, because it was such an incredibly difficult moment in my life. He was ill for 2.5 years and basically in and out of really supposedly dying. And I sat next to his hospital bed for 3 weeks, and I just wrote this book. And to this day, I don't really know where it came from, and then I illustrated it. But what it was, I guess, was it was my understanding as a shaman, as a human, and as someone who, my father didn't die in the end. He's still alive and very much alive and kicking. But it was my journey to make peace with the thing that most of us spend our whole lives being terrified of, not talking about, not understanding. And it was very powerful for me. So yeah, so that was the very first book I wrote. And then the next book I wrote was called The Path. And this is essentially what I was saying about in the beginning. This is sort of 15, 16 years of my journey, because I went through every conceivable thing you could possibly imagine. The Qigong classes, the green smoothies, this, that, you know, anything I could get my hands on, I was doing it. You know, my kitchen was filled with all these things. iPad was filled with all these various, you know, I mean, my life was literally, as I said to you before, I was obsessed with healing. And so I began to know very many different modalities, and I tried all these different things. And to be honest, all of them were amazing in their own ways. But what I realized most importantly was that some of these things will work for some time and for some people, and some of them won't, and some of them will work, or there'll be things that you'll keep for the rest of your life, you know, because they're just things that you really enjoy and they work really well for you, and others will be maybe for a short period of time. But what I wanted so badly at the beginning of my journey was I wanted a book that I could read that basically had everything, that I could just pick it up and go, okay, right, now I need to know about this and this and this. And so I wrote the book that I wanted at the beginning of my journey. So this book really is something for the beginning of a journey. It's not really something for someone who's maybe very far down their path, unless they're looking for more of a holistic understanding, because I touch on everything in the book. I touch on nutrition, I touch on energetic work, I even touch on the importance of community. And then there's a lifestyle guide in there to give someone really, you know, a plan of what to do. And then there's a workbook as well. I wrote it because it was what I wanted, desperately wanted at the beginning of my journey, was something where I could go and get not all the information, because it's by no means does it cover everything, but a lot of information to help me start my journey. So yeah, so that is the path that I wrote.
That sounds lovely. I guess there is a big fear around death, and people avoid it. I guess when you read the book, and it makes you understand a bit more of what's happening, what's going on, and it's not really. It's just a transition, and it's, you know, you don't have it's not really the end for that person. It's just they evolve into a different, and people, I think people are sort of scared of it and they think that's it, you know. But you've got something there that explains everything. It doesn't have to be a thing that you have to fear. I read other books similar to this, and it's takes that a fear away, and I think your book does the same thing. But I'd like to have a read. It sounds quite interesting.
You,
I will be putting the link below, so if anyone's interested in the book, you'll be able to find it in the description box below.
There's always space for talking about that, because that's also very important. I believe that if someone comes to me, it's because it's the right moment for them. And if the session is meant to be, it will be.
So, how can people contact you or find you?
People can contact me at my email address, which is innerhealer3@gmail.com. I'm also on Instagram, and I don't have a Facebook page at the moment. But yeah, Instagram is innerhealer. Email address is innerhealer3@gmail.com as well. But I'm sure you can pop the links. Oh, and I've got a YouTube channel as well. But I'll give you all the links so you can get in touch if they need to, if they feel that it resonates.
Okay, awesome, thank you. I'll put all those details below.
And I've also got a Telegram channel, which I've just set up with a friend of mine he does hair mineral analysis and nutritional balancing, which is something which was very, very powerful for me during my journey. In fact, I talk about it in the book. It really, really helped me. And he's been a great friend of mine now for 13 years. And we've co-created a Telegram channel, which is basically, it's called Minerals and Mastery. But again, I'll give you the link for this, and it's free to join. And it's just a place where we are offering our wisdom and our guidance. Together, we have 32 years of experience in our field. It's just something that both of us felt really, Will coming more from the physical side of things and me coming more from the energetic side of things. Together, we just wanted to bring something into the world and birth it. And also we offer free water charging as well, because we're working with an app which structures your water. So that's also part of the Telegram channel as well. So if anyone would like to join that, then you're very welcome to.
Wow, thank you. Yeah, I'll put all the details below. Sorry to interrupt your video. This is a disclaimer. The next clip that's coming up, the guest speaker is asking you to look at a tarot card, and if you're operating heavy machinery or driving any form of transport, please do not look at the tarot card if you're driving or operating heavy machinery. Thank you. I believe, are you happy to do a little something for the audience to benefit the audience, please?
Yeah, so absolutely. So tomorrow is the first day of the year of the fire horse in the Chinese zodiac, and we're leaving the year of the snake. So obviously the year of the snake has been a year of releasing, letting go, shedding of our skins. And the year of the fire horse, well, it's kind of self-explanatory. It's fire and a horse, so it's like go around. So masses of energy. So yeah, I just was going to do a reading, a very generic reading for anyone watching this podcast on the year of the fire horse. So I'm using the Thoth Tarot here, and I will just see what comes up as a card. So this is something else I do as well. I do tarot readings for people. Intuitive tarot readings. Okay, really interesting. This one just fell out. Actually, 3 fell out, but I'm going to choose the first one. So interestingly enough, the card I chose is the Hanged Man. So usually what I do for people when I do a tarot reading is, rather than me telling them what I know about the tarot card, and also I say to people, if you do know anything about the tarot, try not to think about that. And I simply ask people to actually, I'm just going to bring this up so you can see it. Actually just look at the card and see what you can actually see. And then feel into the energy of the card for you. And the other thing I feel is really, really important is to say there's no negative or positive around any of this. There simply is. So for me, rather than buying into the story of the hanged man, what I do is, in the moment, I look at what is available to me. So the colours are blue and light green. So blue is all about the energy centre of the voice, the throat. And the light green, or the particular green at the top, this is all about the energy centre, the heart energy centre. So I'm talking about the chakras in this case. So here, what I see is the blue, and it's rising up towards the green. So what this is telling me is that as we come out with our voice, as we speak our truth, we open the heart center, we open the connection back to other people, back to humanity, back with the divine. The voice is very, very important from this perspective. And then we have the physical body of the person who is upside down, and they're holding on to 3 circular balls here. So they're kind of in a pose which suggests that their head is downwards and the leg is upwards. So for me today, what this is saying is it's almost as if everything is being inverted. The use of the mind, which is where most of us spend our lives, very much inside of our minds, because that's how our society, our Western society, works. This is the inversion. So normally the leg and the foot would be associated with the grounding of the earth and being with Mother Nature, but it's the opposite way round. It's as if within the year of the fire horse, we are inverting the need for the mind, and we are bringing the grounding presence of the foot, of the leg, of the root chakra, the energy, to join with the heart center and to join with the voice. What is coming up for me today is that when we speak our truth, when we speak from a place of truth, the energy of the heart center, the heart chakra is activated, and that will be connected with the energy of the root chakra, which is grounding us. So this is not about this is not about thinking. This is about connection to reality, to the earth, speaking our truth and connecting with our love for community and all other human beings. So that is my reading for today.
Well, thank you. That's very beautiful. Thank you. That's all we have time for today's episode. All the links will be posted below, so please like and subscribe if you like this video. Thank you very much.